Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree Hobby Lobby dupe. It's a pumpkin sign that says thankful. It looks like this and it's a funny story I'm going to tell you as soon as we get started. But it came in thankful and blessed as well as simply grateful. And they were originally too much money, and even with 40% off they're still like $12, which is still too much money. We're going to use the outside of this frame. We used that inside last year. We're going to use one of these, but you really can use anything, and I'll share with you in a second. And then we're going to use the Grateful, Thankful, Blessed stickers. This is my last set. We're going to use some jute as well as a Sharpie. If you can't find the stickers, I'm going to show you how to do some lettering. Of course, you're going to need some hot glue and some hot glue sticks, but not many, and I'll tell you why in a second. So the funny story is when I first saw this and on Hobby Lobby and I screen grabbed it when it first came out, I thought it was jute. I thought it was exactly what we're making. A layer of jute wrapped on a frame glued on top of another thing, but when I actually saw it in the store, it's actually a wood frame. It's a wood framed pumpkin sitting on top of another piece of board. So, yeah, okay. I didn't tell you needed paint because most everybody has that, but yeah, we're going to paint it white. But actually, you can even skip that if you want to, but I think it looks really good when you paint it white, and then you can see the sticker a lot better. So what I'm going to do here is put in a dot of hot glue, and we're going to start this about a ½ inch down from the edge of the stem. And the reason we're doing that is because I've said this before, I find it easier to start lower and then to build up to the end and then backtrack a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wrap it a couple of times, add some hot glue to the very edge to secure the very edge, and we'll just make sure that the top 2 rows just stick inside that hot glue. Now, this isn't 100% necessary if you want to cover your stem in burlap, if you want to actually make it look like wood and cover it with like some wood contact paper or do a wood painting technique. That would be really cute. But it was really funny because I'm sorry, I just think it was funny because I was like, oh yeah, that's really cute. It's like a burlap frame on it. It's so easy. We could do that, no problem. No, it's not. I gotta get my eyes checked out. Anyway, what I did was the first 5 or 6 rows I got to the end, and then as you saw when I turned it over, I basically went diagonally in the back to just continue going directly underneath. Now, this is, for me, what I call a precise wrap. It's not like a haphazard wrap. I'm just basically making it row after row after row. I will tell you, though, the glitter on the back made it good and bad. It made it harder to slide the jute. Like how we do is we wrap it a few times and then we slide it close to the done work. But it also was better because it didn't slide independently on its own either. So it's kind of like it kind of like had a smooth grip on it, but not too tight of a hold, if that makes any sense. And then we're just going to continue to wrap down the stem. And then what I did was I got to just about the bottom of the stem. I started to go on a diagonal. I did about 8 or 9 rows from the corner. If you notice, the just under the stem is a little bitty point. Then what I did was I went from the corner to the opposite side of the point, and I made that about 7 or 8 rows, and then I went around the back and I went diagonally in the other direction. And I wanted to do this for a couple of things. I wanted to be able to fill in that space, and I also wanted to keep that shape where that kind of feels like, we've talked about this before, there's sort of like a point at the top of a stem where a pumpkin would like come in of 2 curves. The sections, you know what I mean? Yeah, I hope you know what I mean. Okay. And then we're just going to continue to do this. What I did was I did about 8 rows, turned it diagonally, went over it about 8 rows. Then I turned it back the other way, and then I continued on and on and on around the entire pumpkin. So a couple of things about this frame. It isn't a uniform thickness. Like basically in some places it's like 1.5 inches, and then some places it's only like 1 inch. So be mindful when you're going to do the wrapping and sliding that you definitely want to make sure that you wrap from a bigger section to slide. Wrap from a bigger section to slide to a smaller section. You can always tighten it, but it's really difficult to wrap from a small section, and you can't really slide up to the big section because you basically made it too tight. So when we got to the smaller sections, wrapping towards, as we started to taper off, we made sure that we went as close to the work as possible. Okay. And I'm going to show you here a really quick, well, it's not really quick actually. I'm going to show you here a little slow motion action. What I wanted to tell you really quick was I originally painted that background in the ivory Waverly chalk paint, but then I'm going to go back over it with just white because I originally had thought that it looked like wood back there. I couldn't remember. So when I went back to the website and I screen grabbed it, I realized it was just white. So we just went ahead and touched it up with white. So you saw there how you just want to go wrap it a few times, and then you can slide and twist your work up to meet the rest of your old work that you've done already. And I feel like if you were a lefty, you might want to go the other way, like clockwise around this pumpkin. But for some reason, being a righty, it just felt more natural to go from the outside in, counterclockwise, I guess it would be. And yes, it's going to go super fast because nobody wants to sit here and watch me do this for 30 minutes. It was just about now where I was like, I think I need to put on a movie. This is a great movie project, sitting in front of the TV. This is also a great project, again, for kids or people with disabilities. It's really simple, especially if you can find the wall clings. But, you know, really, otherwise, it's really just this wrapping it is sort of, it's good for your arthritis. It's good for my arthritis. I can't speak for yours. So when I got about halfway done, I just glued it off and I set it aside so I could put another coat of paint on the background pumpkin. And this is where I went ahead and I made it white. I just took the white Waverly chalk paint and went over the ivory. I bought these. As you know, I was gifted Waverly chalk paint, and I just made my own. We've made our own in the past, but I really do just love it. It's simple. It's not that it's inexpensive, but you do get to use so much less paint. I feel like it lasts longer, I guess is what I'm saying. So then I glued off it at the halfway point, and I went and I go ahead and I put just that second coat of white paint. Now I went from ivory to white. I will tell you what I made a mistake right here is I put the paint down on there and I left it for a few minutes, and what it ended up doing was making wiping away the paint that was under it. So be careful, don't do that. Don't let your second coat of chalk paint sit on your first coat too long and then try to brush it off or spread it out, because then what it did was it basically removed the undercoat. So that's why I left that second coat in there to see, because normally I would just say just put a second coat on it. Okay. Now the last thing that I didn't mention that we're going to use from the Dollar Tree is just a piece of that headband. You can also use any kind of gingham ribbon that you want. You don't have to use the headband if you can't find it, and you also don't even have to put a black and white check bow on it. The original inspiration piece actually had a sawtooth hanger on the back. It also was a tiny bit bigger. I mean, not really much, but it was a tiny bit bigger. But for $12, we're definitely getting our money's worth. Even if you had to buy all these materials from new, like if you didn't, I mean, obviously not the glue gun, but if you didn't have this frame, if you didn't have the chalkboard, the stickers, the paint, I mean, altogether that would only come to, for $4 or $5. So even on 40% discount, we're still ahead of the game. Plus, because we use the chalkboard sign from the Dollar Tree, this is going to be reversible. So I wanted to mention that to you too. As a matter of fact, when you put your paint on it, make sure that if you get any on the back, I would wipe it away right away, because I wiped it away later and I ended up taking some of the finish off of it. But to me, that didn't look objectionable. It kind of gave it an aged look, which I really liked anyway. Okay. And then when you're going to get to finish it off, we're just going to tack it with hot glue in the back. Because we're going to double layer this frame, I just went ahead and I glued the end off behind the stem, because the stems will overlap in the back if you are going to make this reversible. And again, if you're going to make this reversible, make sure you check the jute in the back to make sure you don't have any holes or holidays or any of the glitter is showing. Okay. So now the next step is to basically try to line up the layers. But you can see right there that the stem for the chalkboard pumpkin is bigger than the stem for the jute pumpkin, and we're going to cut that off in the end, but we're going to make it still look like a stem on the other side, which is cute. So you can see here, this is what I was talking about. Like, I went to go and take some of the paint off, and I ended up taking off some of the poster, so be careful. Now you just want to line it up the best you can, add glue around, and then glue them down. What I have here is a piece of that headband. We used it in a previous DIY the other day, and now we're just going to use some more of it, and just going to tie a little bow. We're not worrying about gluing it finished, or it's just a nice little raw edge piece of fabric. And we're just tying this like we would tie our shoelaces. You know, you make a loop around your finger, you tie the other tail around that, pull it through the little hole where your finger was, and then you tie a bow, and then you just adjust it. As you see, I kind of left it here. It's only double time for the bow, just so you guys could see exactly just how much time it takes to actually just make a bow. It just takes a minute, a few, to manipulate it into its submission. But basically just twist it and pull tight, and it'll hold on there for you. All right, and then we're just going to glue this right in the center. We're going to kind of cover all of those angled pieces we did anyway, but I just wanted to make sure that that peak was out there, you know. So first I started with putting blessed, and I wanted to make sure that was sort of level and even with the bottom, and then I put thankful above it. And now we're just going to draw an ampersand. The ampersand on this was really easy. It was basically a backwards 3 or a curvy E. And then what I wanted to do was I created the three-dimensional by basically continuing that line wherever the downstrokes were. Now, we've mentioned this lettering before. I love this lettering. You guys are like, oh, your handwriting's so beautiful. But listen, I'm gonna show you in the end. I'm going to give you some advice here. But first, what we're going to do is we took the piece of jute that came off of the chalkboard. Oh, I'm burning the jute. Sorry. The piece of jute that came off the chalkboard, I saved it, and I actually am just tying a knot on the other end. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue it basically over the holes where the holes were. Okay? And then I've taken and I'm going to make a jute bow. So I just basically took a bunch of jute, wrapped it around my hand a few times, took a smaller piece of jute and tied a knot in the middle just to have a little bit of a jute bow. I'm not really crazy about the raffia. I am saving it. I don't know what I'm saving it for. But then we glued the knot, one knot in each hole for the hanger. Now, here's what it is. And I'm serious. All this is penmanship like you learned when you were in school. My secret is I make it loopy and as wider than you think it should be. Then I go back on all the downstrokes and I add a line. But here's the thing. This is where you can make your letters correct. If you didn't make your spaces even, this is where you can adjust them. If you didn't make your line straight, if your pen was shaky, this is where you can fix all of that. It is a very forgiving thing. But here's the tip I want to give you. This is a washable chalk marker, and this is a chalkboard. Whether you have chalk or a chalk marker and a chalkboard, you can practice until your hand falls off because it's chalk. You can just sit there and you can write and you can wash it away and you can write, you can wash it away and you can write and you can wash it away, and you can do that till the cows come home or till you're out of ink, really. The same thing with these little vines. These little vines, oh, they add such a detail of handmade, just farmhouse cuteness. But really all they are is a line with little ovals. And they're actually teardrops. But the point of the teardrop touches the stem. And then the teardrop goes, like, basically you start at the stem and you make a teardrop back to the stem. And then you color them in. And you really can't get any simpler than that. You really can't. But just practice. I'd love to see some of your work. I love that you guys share it with us. So this is how it looks all finished on this side. And I really love it. And then this is how it looks all finished on the other side. So you can see the stem still has that corrugated tin look on the other side. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family, anybody you know might be interested in seeing how to make this wonderful DIY. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe. And when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, you take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye!